in, in completion before the game gets underway come next year.
Well, from good news coming from the National Sports Commission to 3 states, the next who states for the National Sports Festival will now go to handball, and the Niger United of Mina on Sunday shocked high-flying Chief of Army Staff shooters 32-32 in a close contest at the ongoing second phase of the Premier League Handball League in Lagos. We understand the shooters who were occupying the second position before the games trailed 16-22 at halftime, and the game became a battle of wits between United's coach Adebayo Yekini and Emeka Nnamani of Chief of Army Staff shooters. And thereafter, the shooters came back stronger in the second stanza, but the United team from Niger stood very strong to win the game with just a point. What a game, Mike.
What a game that was filled of drama, techniques and grits out there. Though so many expected, them to lose that game, talking about the Mina, but then they actually united to do the thinkable, because they were coming up against a very strong side that have been placing second even before the start of their competition. But then we saw the first half of that game, they had to stun the Cross play by 16 to about 22 points. At that point, I just knew that if they can hang on, then it was going to be their day, which is what they did. And a breakable display, I must also commend them, because throughout the course of the tournament so far, they have not really been one of the best, and that is why there were some skepticism about their quality, heading into that game. But then, thank God, they were able to prove their doubters wrong by coming up to the party when it mattered most. And of course, it is part of the game. Sometimes you win, you lose, or you draw. And over the weekend, they just had to unite to, of course, make sure that they beat Cross.
Let's bring you some Scrabble news this hour. The Scrabble Association has introduced a new set of continental honors with the launch of the 2025 Players Award. This is aimed at redefining the recognition of standards for elite and, of course, emerging Scrabble players across Africa. Mike, this is good enough to motivate the players?
Yeah, definitely. For those that have done exceptionally well, there is need for reward, there is need for recognition, there is need for their name to be heralded, so that it will also continue to motivate them to give their all whenever they are on national duty. I think for me it's very, very important, because going by this, players want to be more efficient in order for them to distinguish themselves away from the others. So I think it's more like trying to, of course, increase the standard of the competition, and then also try to honor some individual and exceptional talent that have been very exceptional during the course of those matches, and it's going to go a whole long way to motivate the players to give in their all whenever they are on duty.
I'm really interested in the elite badge. This is for veterans in the sport of Scrabble. They need that recognition.
Definitely. The elite, they were a lot more like I call it a forerunner, because they've paid the ways without their own past effort and glory. Maybe the development of the game would have been in shred or in doubt, but then the elite, they actually contributed a lot to the development of the game. So I think it's also a very good honor and a very nice way to, of course, recognize their effort in the past as well.
Let's go to basketball now. In basketball, Nigerian D Tigers secured their very first victory at the FIBA Men's Basketball World Cup African qualifiers last night, defeating Rwanda by 75-69 in an overtime win after a tears Group C encounter in Tunisia. Mike, Rwanda, no pushover for Nigeria?
Yeah, no pushover, but then I think Nigeria needed that result more than the Rwandans, because Nigeria has been very shaky, so far in this World Cup qualifier, losing their first game against the host nation. Though you might say that
at halftime it was a tie.
Yeah, you might say that they did not have the best of preparation, but then I think the players as well, they also need to take responsibility. I had a coach after their first game against Tunisia complaining a lot, talking about Coach Abdurrahman, who was saying that the players did not have enough rest, and they arrived the venue of their game hours before that kickoff, and they lost to the Tunisian side. So I think for me it's a nice way for them to try and see if they can put their quest for the FIBA World Cup qualification back on track, which they actually did against a very strong Rwandan side as well.
To qualify for the FIBA World Cup, you need to first of all get through from Africa, and it is one win and one loss now for Nigeria, the Tigers, the male basketball side. First loss was to Tunisia, and now a win against Rwanda. They are featured in 20 Afro Basketball Finals, winning gold in, if you remember, in 2015. Can they really get across from this qualifier that is featuring 8 African countries?
I think we'll just wait and see. They should be hungry enough to do that, because it's been a while that they appeared in the FIBA basketball, competition. The leadership issue that have been that have cracked the Nigerian Basketball Federation over the years, and I think they are just gradually trying to see if they can be able to put up the broken pieces together, and that also need to be reflected on the senior national team, especially for the D Tigers, who has lowered down their guard and standard in the last 3 years. I think it is just the D Tigers that have been holding and hoisting the flag of Nigeria very high. You talk about the male counterpart, I think they have not been at the best of their form. So I think that alone should be more like an inspiration for them to fight so hard to get the ticket, because you don't just wait that it should come in at a platter of gold. You must fight for it. There are other 8 African countries whose quest and aspiration is to appear in the FIBA World Cup, and I think the T Tigers should also try their possible best to see if they can be one of those nations that will qualify.
Top 5 African countries will qualify for the FIBA World Cup coming up in Qatar in 2027, but for now, of the 8, 5 will have to go through the qualifiers to see. And I think Nigeria should be able to get one of the tickets to go to Qatar for the FIFA World Cup, Basketball Cup coming up in the Asian country next year. Let's say. Mike, let's go to the NBA. When we talk about basketball, the pinnacle of it is the NBA in the United States of America. In the early hours of this morning, Cleveland Cavaliers were narrowly lost to Boston Celtics 115 to 117 points.
For Boston Celtics, I think they needed that result. For Cleveland Cavaliers, losing at home wasn't a good one for them because their fans were so anxious to see them get all, needed a victory. I saw some of their fans, before the start of that game, you see them with so much excitement, expectation, but at the end of it all, some of them were going back dejected, very sad, and it doesn't look good for them. But for Boston Celtics, I think it was a great result for them.
And New Yorkers, the Knicks from New York beat Toronto Raptors by 116 to 94 points. The team from Canada didn't get the best on the night. Definitely,
it was a very difficult game for them. They tried their best. Some of their key players, were not featured in that game for whatever reason. But then, I think they need to try hard in their next game.
It was an overtime win for Atlanta Hawks over Philadelphia 76ers, 134 to 142 points. Portland Trail Blazers lost to Oklahoma City Thunders by 123 points to 115. Minnesota Timberwolves 135, far better than the 112 points scored by San Antonio Spurs.
Yeah, for San Antonio Spurs, I think they've not actually started the season on an impressive note in the Eastern Conference. And I think this should be a worry for the coach and the players as well to, double their effort and see how to try to get positive result. Because I think it wasn't a great one for them away from home too. But then it was expected that they should fight so hard to at least get a taking a look at the result and statistics of the last 5 games they played so far. I think they should have been motivated to go all out for a victory.
Well, talking about motivation, of course, getting victory, it comes close up there in the NBA, and we just hope that we'll see some top-level more basketball. And the season is coming to a close, and who gets it in the Western or the Eastern Conference?
I think there are still more games to come, about 82 games per each season in the NBA. Few have gone down, not even half of it have gone down, but then as the Yuletide period comes calling, where some of them are they are going to go for a few resting period for some of the few days. I think Oklahoma City Thunder seems to be a team that is very, very formidable. All right, this is the only team that I can actually, be singling them out from the Eastern Conference to say, okay, this is a team that we should watch. So for every other team, I think they should just be trying, but I'm certainly sure about the OK City, in their quest to win the NBA title.
Well, it's the end of the year, and a lot of awards are being bandied. And in athletics, we are beginning to see Adma Duplantis and, of course, Sidney McLean-Leveron being crowned World Athletes of the Year. And, of course, this was at the World Athletics Awards in Monaco, France. Sidney Duplantis is set for 4 new pole vote world records in 2025. You can't take this away from her.
Definitely, I think he's been able to, show greatness since the day one when he started. He was very, exceptional. You saw what he did last year, and the last Olympic game was not yet another record-breaking one. In fact, he's been setting and breaking record of his own. It is now him and himself, him and his record alone, as he's chasing after his own record, because he's shattered all record available. Now he's competing against his own record, and that is how great Duplantis has become in the world as we speak right now. So if he definitely nick another award on the board, I think it will not be surprising for me, because I see it coming.
Now let's get to tennis. And Novak Djokovic says he's reconstructing and rebuilding his body during the tennis off-season to prepare for the rigors of the 23rd year as a professional tennis player. He's 24-time Grand Slam champion, but with age not on the side, nearly 38 now. Can he really break the record of more or most titles in modern day tennis?
I think that is a very big question at this point, where we have some of the young stars that are also trying to create or carve a niche on their own, likes of Jannik Sinner, the Italian. You talk about Carlos Alcaraz, the young Spaniard. They've actually, pushed Novak Djokovic, back a bit in terms of the standard and the quality of play so far. Age is a very key factor, because you can't cheat age. He's been there, he's dominated, he's won trophies, he's won laurels, he's set record for himself, now going for a standalone record, and that seems to be, not forthcoming because of the emergence of these two youthful, talented players. So I think it's going to be a pretty difficult one for Novak Djokovic, but then nothing is impossible. Sometimes he lose one, sometimes he win some. So this year, I think it wasn't a good one for him, because he was unable to achieve that target. Next year, he has taken a rest, and I think from now till when the big one will come up on January, I think he would have been taking enough rest and enough of tutorials, enough of training, and see how he can be able to go again next year, if he can be able to break that standalone record. But then, like I said, it's going to be quite a Herculean one for him. A
Herculean task could be for Novak Djokovic, but he said he's resting enough to see how he can get it done. Australian Open is the next, and let's see whether he can get it. It's a familiar surface for him, but all of that will be next year. And thereafter, there are 3 other Grand Slams where he can apply himself and see whether he will make it. But in 2025, I think he was in 2 semi-final events at the Grand Slam, and he couldn't progress all the way to the final. Maybe having a shot at it as well. But let's see what the result of his rest will be early next year, when the Australian Grand Slam will get underway. Let's wrap up this half of the show now with the latest coming from the world of Formula One, where Lando Norris, Max Verstappen, and Oscar Piastri will contest a final race championship showdown in Abu Dhabi after what has been described as a stunning season. The last race of the season is coming up in Abu Dhabi. Mike, who gets it?
I think it's going to be a very tough one after Max Verstappen, did win the Qatar Grand Prix, and I think this is a very big blunder, a big decision that was made by the McLaren team out there, because they seem to be very confused at some point. When there are two drivers, talking about London Norris and Oscar Piastri, are on the same lane, maybe one just a bit seconds ahead of the other, you discover that an order or decision will come direct from the station to call any of the driver that is ahead to allow the next person to slow down and so that it could be overtaken. And that decision happened not once so far this is not twice, which at some point made Oscar Piastri to be very angry. But then, it's a team something. He can't just really come out to, take a dig at his own, constructors, and that is why he allowed that to slide. But then I think this decision might just be very costly, because if London Norris or Oscar Piastri had won the Qatar Grand Prix, I think it will be done and dusted right now. But then the man of the Red Bull, talking about Max Verstappen, is one dangerous driver, very slick, very technical, that if you give him an inch, he will go further to occupy space, and that is what happened. You saw him building up to that game. In fact, some thought that it was over, because Oscar Piastri was about, London Norris was about 24 points ahead of the rest of the two drivers. But then, this is where we are right now. Three of them will certainly file out again for the final Drivers' Championship, because the Constructors' title has already been won and lost. But then I can tell you that if care is not taken, Max Verstappen could just, break the heart of McLaren if they don't take proper decision.
If the season was to end now, Max Verstappen is the champion because he is first on the ranking at the top 10. Oscar Piastri is second from McLaren, while Carlos Sainz from Williams is in the third place position on the Formula One ranking. Lando Norris, the second, the other McLaren driver, is in the fourth place. Kim Antonelli of Mercedes is in the fifth, followed by his team driver George Russell in the sixth place position. Fernando Alonso of Aston Martin is in the seventh. Charles Leclerc of Ferrari is 8th. 9 is Liam Lawson from Racing Bull, while Yuki Tsunoda of Red Bull makes up the top 10 in Formula One in the year 2025. We just hope somehow our man, I don't know what to make of him. It's looking very difficult now that he might just begin to think of quitting the sports, Mike.
Definitely, I think he should, because I think he's paid his dues as well. 8 times champion. He's been trying his best since ever he lost his former side. He left his former side rather. It's been very, very difficult for him, and I think the signs are there that he's no longer that same Lewis Hamilton that we know, because his form has gradually depreciated to the extent that he finds it pretty difficult to even finish within the podium. Since the start of the season so far.
Hamilton changing constructor, it has not helped at all, but we just hope that he will know when to call it quits from the sports. And that will be it. We'll right back after a short break. When we return from the break, we'll go to the ever busy world of football. Talking about football, the Nigerian Premier League here in Nigeria is going to the 15th week, and interesting result. Eyimba International, after sacking their coach, has found a way to return to the winning side. And across Europe, Chelsea and Arsenal sharing spoils last night. What a match. Details of this and many more will yours will return from a break. Welcome back. It's Sports Talk here on Atlantic Television Network, and we're beginning to give you the latest, of course, around the world of sports. Earlier, we told you how the Tigers, Nigeria male basketball team, has won at the qualifiers out there in Tunisia. They were able to get off the Rwandans after losing to the Tunisian side. Mike, now let's go to football. It's week 14 or so in the Premier League here in Nigeria. Barrow FC managed to beat Kwara United by 3-2. This is good result for the side.
Definitely a good result for Barrow FC beating Nasarawa United that seems to be flying high so far this season. I think it's a positive result for them, but then I just hope that they can build up on this very positive result come next weekend.
Talking about positive result in the last weekend's fixture in the Premier League here in Nigeria, it has to come from the Aba Township Yimba International Stadium, where the home side beat Rangers by 2-1. It was an oriental derby, and Coach Ayeni's first outing with Yimba as a Yimba coach, getting all 3 points. What looks like what the former coach Stanley Gumanti could not do.
Yeah, I think it's a good start for him. For Enyimba, it's been a difficult season for them so far since the start of the season. But then that 3 points against Enugu Rangers, that seems to be losing focus and concentration as well, I think is very important, because these two teams, talking about Enyimba and Rangers, they've not started the season very well. Two of them have been struggling, but in an Oriental derby, you expect it to be a very difficult game. But then at the end of it all, Enyimba went on to win. And I think that victory has taken them to 9th position on the log with 20 points after 15 games. Let's hope that the coach can keep up with this.
One of the top-level fixtures at the weekend in the Premier League here in Nigeria was the Ikorodu FC match in Lagos against Abia Warriors. Two of them contenders for the league title this year. It ended 1-0 in favor of the home side, Ikorodu City.
Great result for Ikorodu City, because because of that 3 point, they've actually shoot themselves at the league table, at the summit of the league table, with 27 points after that victory. And for Abia Warriors, not a good one for them, because they've been pegged back to 3rd position or 4th on the league table with 23 points after 15 games played. So for Ikorodu City, it's a team to watch out for this season.
We're watching out for Ikorodu City this season and see whether they can nick the title on the first bounce. Meanwhile, Kun Khalifa, another new team in the league, beat Plateau United by 2-0. Shooting Stars were by the edge out Air Academy Warriors by 1-0. While the encounter between Warri Wolves and Nasarawa United ended 1-0 in favor of the home side, the Warri Wolves. Bayelsa United played a 1-1 draw with Katsina United. Bayelsa United sometimes get good results away and come back home and drop points.
I think they've been very, very inconsistent so far this season. Bayelsa United, you just see them going away from home to surprise some of the big team, but then when they return home, they return back to their shell as well. So I think for me, they need to follow this up with consistency. They are seated 11 on the league table right now. They need to push more harder to see if they can be able to at least finish in the continental spot come this season.
Bende Insurance were high-score winners at the weekend in the Premier League here in Nigeria, because they beat Wiki Tourists by 3 unreplied goals. Niger Tornadoes beating Remo Stars by 1-0. Insurance of Benin, the highest goal scoring side, or do I say highest scoring side in the league this week.
Yeah, I think it's a good one for them.
3 goals,
we rarely
unreplied goals.
Yeah, we rarely see such high scoring side in the Nigerian Premier Football League. But then I think for Bendel Insurance, I just hope it's not going to be one of things. Can they replicate this next time? It's a very big question.
Well, let's stay away from that now and bring you some Super Eagles story. They understand they will open their 2025 African Cup of Nations campaign with a Group C clash against the Taifa Stars of Tanzania, a fixture drawing very significant anticipation as both sides aim to make a strong start to the tournament. Can we go past Tanzania?
On paper, we should go past Tanzania. Tanzania are no match to us when you talk about quality of players within the fold of both sides. But then we know that these days football is not just played because you have some big name stars. Of course, these same big name stars were there when we couldn't hold our own to qualify for the World Cup, where DR Congo had to, defeat us. So it's about determination. It's about knowing what the players want for themselves. These crops of players, they're willing to sacrifice all to win the African Cup of Nations to their own name. It's a question, but then, like I said, the Super Eagles will always be favored ahead of this other team.
Well, let's hope that the players that have been invited will report. But if you look at the team list, just say list of players invited, some of the big name players are not there, Mike.
Yeah, not surprising for me. We just wait and see what the coach is cooking. It is his job. He's been able to marshal out the players he thinks that can get him the result. Let's just support him and see what comes up from there.
Fingers are crossed. The African Cup of Nations gets underway this month. Just about 20 days or so from now, the African Cup of Nations will get underway. But for the Nigerian-Tanzania fixture, I think it is December 23rd. It will be a Christmas of top-level football in Africa.
Definitely, Christmas of top-level football, and we hope to see the best of football in Africa.
Okay, talking about football across Africa now, we should be able to go to Europe as well, where there was top-level football at the weekend. Mike, the Premiership is a center of attraction, and let's look at some Premiership results. 1-1 it ended, 3-1 it ended between Brentford and Burnley. We saw on Saturday Manchester City coming from behind to beat Leeds United. Manchester City leaving it late, but it mattered most. 3 points, and now they're second place on the league table.
Yeah, what matters most is the 3 point which they actually got. Despite the fact that it was more like a difficult game for them because Haaland did not holler on a day where he was expected to score. But then Phil Foden came to their rescue with that 9 minutes ago to ensure that they took all 3 points, moving them to second position on the log. A 5-point drift of Arsenal, who couldn't hold their own last night. A good result for the citizens. Sunderland
beats Bournemouth by 3-2. Sunderland, they're not letting off this season at all.
For sure, after gaining that promotion, it's been a great start for them, especially where they play at the City ground. For Sunderland, there are no newcomers to the English Premier League, despite the fact that they were relegated. They came back and they're showing the stuff of, the sign that indeed there are no newcomers at all.
Everton played at home were beaten by Newcastle United by 4-1. Mike, Tottenham Hotspur having a different footing in the league as compared to the UEFA Champions League. They were able to win, but at the league, they were beaten inside of their own stadium by Fulham. What do you make of it? 2-1 ended in that encounter.
Fulham are always very stubborn team to play against. They just know how to play some of these big teams, and football sometimes could be cruel. One expected Tottenham after losing their UEFA Champions League. They should, of course, get the 3 points at home to Fulham's side, but then it wasn't to be, as Fulham actually, showed the sign that they needed all 3 points more than Tottenham Hotspur, that they went all their way to get all 3 points. Not a good one for Thomas Frank and his men.
It was a good weekend for Liverpool. They returned to winning ways, beating West Ham by 2-0. Is Liverpool back?
I don't think so, because they are seated 8th on the table right now. I don't really think they are back. We just need to watch the next 3-4 games consistently. If they maintain that consistency in the next 3-4 games, then maybe we can start talking about whether they are back or not. But for now, I just think we just need to wait a bit.
What happened to the Nottingham Forest? Brighton beating them by 2-0 inside of the Nottingham Forest Stadium.
Nottingham Forest has not been so great so far this season, so it is no surprise at all.
Aston Villa beat Wolves by 1-0. Then one of the matches of the weekend was the encounter between Crystal Palace and Manchester United. Manchester, the away side, beat Crystal Palace by 2-1, in spite Crystal Palace scoring first.
Yeah, for Manchester United, I think they needed a result more than Crystal Palace because it's been a turbulent, start to life for Ruben Amorim so far this season. At a point where we thought maybe they were just, beginning to get that consistency. You just see them dropping some points again against Everton, 10-man Everton. So they needed a quick response, to of course appease their fans as well.
Talking about the Manchester United scoring 2 goals last night, all 2 goals came from set piece. And Mike, this is their 10th set piece goal this season. And a lot of people have already tagged Arsenal as the set piece team, the team who wins or score goals by set pieces. But both sides now in the league this year have scored 10 goals apiece from set pieces. What do you make of set piece as the new model? In fact, according to Amorim, he says they are stealing the methods of scoring goals from set pieces from the other teams. Everybody know that team could be Arsenal.
For set piece, it's part of football that Arsenal seems to be using set piece to score. It's not a new thing in the world of football. It has been there. Just that for the Arsenal team,
it's just about the number 10 coming from set pieces.
Yeah.
Now both teams have 10 goals from set pieces.
And the reason why that of Arsenal is a little bit more pronounced is because of the fact that they are topping the league. All right. If Manchester United was the one topping the league and with us set pieces, I think people should have been talking more about them than Arsenal. So I think set pieces in football is part of the game. If you can get it right during training session, then you can get it right during a match.
The Super Sunday fixture was at Stamford Bridge between Chelsea and Arsenal. At the end of 90 minutes, it was 1-1. Mike, in 42 minutes or thereabout, in fact, under 39 minutes, we saw 1 red card and 4 yellow in that encounter. Typical of a derby encounter?
Definitely, I think it's very typical of such a counter. Arsenal against Chelsea, gunning for the jugular against each other at the Stamford Bridge, coming on the back heel of impressive display for the both teams in the UEFA Champions League during the midweek. They also brought such a game to the weekend football in the English Premier League. So it was typical of such a
52
counter.
minutes, we saw Chelsea play without play with 10 men as compared to 11 from the Arsenal side. Yet it was difficult for Arsenal to overpower them. 52 minutes without 1 man on the pitch.
I think it's a very, very impressive display from Chelsea, considering the fact that they were playing a very strong Arsenal side, that their defense seems to be watertight, the attack, biting, midfield, okay. So I think it was an impressive display from the Chelsea side. I didn't really expect that, shortly after going down to 10 men in the 38 minutes after that red card to Moise Caicedo. I think Arsenal needed to do more in that game to get the needed fixture. And for me, it calls to question about the readiness of Arsenal to win the league. Because if you can't beat a 10-man Chelsea, then I think their title credential is questionable at this point.
Looking difficult, but in the days ahead, we'll see how that could pan out. Let's quickly go to Spanish La Liga, where FC Barcelona were 3-1 winners over their opponents at the weekend. Deportivo Alaves scoring only 1 in that encounter. But last night we saw Real Madrid play a 1-1 draw as well. What do you make of it? Right now, is the point difference has been reduced?
Yeah, Madrid need to be very wary of this Barca side.
They could not beat Girona last night, 1-1 it ended.
Yeah, and even they had to concede first in that game. They had to fight back to beg for a draw. So they need to be very wary about Barca.
No stopping Bayern Munich in the German Bundesliga. 3-1, it ended between them and St. Pauli.
Expected to do.
Well, expected result, you say, are there in the German Bundesliga. Meanwhile, Leverkusen dropped points. They were beaten by Borussia Dortmund by 2-1.
For Leverkusen, I think they have not really get the best of them since the exit of some of their key men. Xavi Alonso left, Victor Boniface, Flore Wies, Jonathan Tah, name them. So I think it was expected that Dortmund should get all 3 points against them.
In Italian Serie A, Juventus pipped Cagliari by 2-1. We seem, where we saw AC Milan as well return to winning ways, beating Lazio by 1-0.
Yeah, for AC Milan, great start for them so far this season under, the Italian Serie A. I think the acquisition of Luka Modric with that experience is bringing a lot to them, and of course Rafael Leao, who is also in form so far this season. I think for AC Milan, we should watch out for them.
Talking about Parma and Lazio, what you in fact AC Napoli, it ended 1-0.
For Napoli, they are also gunning for the league. They are the defending champions, so it was more like a point, 3 points needed from Napoli, and of which they delivered. You expect them to get all 3 points because other teams like AC Milan, Inter Milan, they are also battling to dethrone them as well.
In the French league, we saw Lyon beat Nantes by 3-0, and it was 1-0 win by Monaco over Paris Saint-Germain, the leaders on the league table. How did that happen?
Disappointing result is what for Paris Saint-Germain. He just, did not expect that one. But yes, Monaco powered and fired up by the quest of their players to, change the tide around and did the needful. And for Paris Saint-Germain, maybe time for them to buckle up their seat belt and start to show the stuff, we saw of them last season.
Let's wrap up the show with the biggest news coming across from the Major League Soccer in the United States of America, and it has to do with an Argentine. Lionel Messi is entered into the history books as the man with the most assists in the world football. 405 assists from the god from Argentine football, Lionel Messi.
Great one for him. His quality never in doubt. He's been able to create record that is going to be very difficult for so many upcoming players to break. He still remains a doyen of football, and I'll just keep enjoying him until he finally hangs up the boots.
Lionel Messi had earlier drawn level with Hungarian legend Ferenc Puskás, if you remember, before surpassing him with his latest assist, bringing it to 405, and the one with the most in the history of football. Lionel Messi, 405 assists, and now Ferenc Puskás have been to second place position with 404, with legendary Pelé with 369 assists in football in the third place position. Lionel Messi can't stop breaking records, and we'll keep you posted on more records. He's still playing in the Major League Soccer in the United States of America, and I'm going to show you more of his records will continue to tumble. But for us here, we have to wrap it up now, Mike. We'll be back at 6 p.m. Nigerian time when there will be more in-depth look at the top leagues across the world, where all 5 top leagues, including the Premier League here in Nigeria. Until then, remember, peace and unity are clearly pathways to progress. Always enjoy here on Atlantic Television Network.